Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I am so happy you found us. I'm Lisa, and this is Creativity and Inspiration. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're having an amazing day. I hope if it's warm where you are that you're staying cool, and I hope if it's nice you get out and get to enjoy some sunshine. Today I have an amazing video for you. I am super excited about this one because it taps into my artistic mixed media background, and it's just a lot of fun. And if you like collaging, layering, creating from a blank canvas, you're going to love this one. Today we are going to take just plain basic envelopes. I have a couple of different sizes and shapes here, and we're going to create envelopes that are going to tell a story. And we're going to do that by layering, collaging, and it's going to be so much fun. Like I said, I'm so excited about this one. So come on in and let's just get started. Okay guys, so first I want to show you the envelopes we're going to be using for this because like I said, they're different shapes, different sizes, and most of them are this color, but I have a few that are kind of cream. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is trace inside your flap, and you want to leave you want to trace inside where your glue is. Now, I personally don't use this glue. I will put my double-sided tape on it though. So I still want to trace right inside for the flap, and then you want to trace this part right here of the envelope that shows. And you want to go just a little bit farther than the lowest point. And you can trace it using tracing paper. I didn't have tracing paper, so I'm using parchment paper. It's not quite as see-through, but it works good enough, and I'm not having to go out and buy anything else. Now, if you're not comfortable tracing with the envelope intact, of course you can take your envelope apart and trace it, but make sure you trace just the top part, and then you can put your envelope back together. That is whatever you want to do. For this one, I've just been tracing with my envelope hole because I'm going to use these to send birthday cards, maybe some Halloween cards, Christmas, Thanksgiving. You get the idea. These are actually going to be put in the mail. So I want to make sure that I don't weaken the structure by taking them all the way apart. So I'm just taking my parchment paper. I'm cutting off a section that's comfortable to work with. And then I'm fitting it down into that section of my envelope that I want to trace over it. And I'm tracing that shape. And I'm going to come down just a little bit farther than the edge of the envelope, remember, because you want it to be tucked in just a tad. Now you can do this with pencil or pen, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I'm just going to grab a pencil. And I can see where that glue is, so I'm going to make sure I come under that glue. You want to make sure you have good light. If you have good light, the parchment paper is not bad either. And then the edge is right here of my envelope. And like I said, I want to come down just a bit lower. So I'm going to come down just a bit lower. And all I'm doing is finding the lowest part of the envelope, which is the part, you know, when I say the lowest part, I'm talking about the lowest part that's open right there in the center. So I want to come down just a little bit lower than that. Okay. And then I'm going to come down. Whoops. And there you have it. Now I will cut this shape out, and that's the shape I'm going to use for my pattern. If you don't want your paper to be rolled when you do this, you can definitely straighten it out before. Now tracing paper won't be rolled. Mine is rolled because it's parchment paper. But you can get parchment paper cheaper than tracing paper at Dollar Tree. If they have tracing paper, that's great. It's just not much in a thing, but you know, for $1.25. And then once you get it cut out, you just make sure it fits. Remember, it goes under your glue line, and then it fits down into your envelope. and it fits perfectly, so that'll be perfect for the paper that I want to put inside. Because when we tell a story with our envelope, we're going to tell a story on the front, but we're also going to tell a story on this part that we just made the tracing for. And they can tie together. That makes the most sense, but they don't have to. It's really whatever you want to do. Now, I already made a pattern, for this envelope. It has a little different flap here at the bottom. This one's flat across, and this one was pointed. So I'm going to take this, and for this envelope, I'm thinking about summer. Maybe somebody has a birthday. Maybe I'm going on vacation, and I'm going to send some letters. Or maybe I'm going on vacation, and I want this to go in my summertime journal or in my planner, and I can put little tags and bits and bobs that will fit from my trip. So, because it's summer and I'm dreaming of the beach, I'm going to use an old map to create this inside part. So first, let's do that. And let's say I'm going to Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. So I'm actually going to use the correct side of the map. You don't have to. Water's water. I'm going to get my pattern, and I'm going to come over here and use the part that's getting the cities and the ocean. And if it has some words from the map, that's great, like Atlanta Ocean, Northeastern United States. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to get my pencil back out, and I'm going to trace my pattern onto my map. I want more water than land, so I'm just going to get a little bit of land. I actually don't have the exact location I want, but that's okay. So I've got my pattern traced onto my map. Now I'm going to cut it out real quick. I'm going to get my envelope back and just fit this down in it so I can make sure I did, a pretty close job. And I did. Fits wonderfully. Now I'm going to fold it where my flap crease is, just to go ahead and get that in there so when I glue it, it's creased in the right spot. And there we go. And that already transformed that plain envelope by just doing this little thing. But this isn't the most exciting part. Now, before you move on from this, what you could do is place some little stamps. If you have ocean themed or summer themed stamps, you could put a couple of stamps on here, because obviously it's snail mail and it uses stamps. So if you have any of your crafting stamps and you want to put them on, or maybe some you've made, you could definitely add one or two on here. You will seal that down with your glue, your double-sided tape, whatever you want to use. Now, for the front, because I did the ocean inside, I want the front, again, this is going to be representative of my summer vacation. I thought I would do like an ocean cut out, the waves, the sea waves like that. Cut that out for the bottom, and then I would put a little sailboat. So let me show you what I was thinking. And you can use different materials. You can use the map again for the ocean, whatever you want to do. But to bring in as many different types of materials, just to give you guys a lot of options, I'm going to use this old airmail envelope, because when you open it up inside, it has this beautiful blue, which to me screams ocean, right? So this is going to be my ocean. And then I thought I would use this other side for just a little simple, nothing fancy, very basic bottom of my sailboat. And then my sail is going to be a stamp cut lengthwise. So let me show you. First, let's use half of this, the half on the back. And I'm going to cut off the stamp because I don't want to. Okay, so I'm going to use this as my ocean, and believe it or not, when I cut that stamp off, it fits perfectly. Okay, so I've cut a strip for my ocean, and what I'm going to do is draw it on the same side as the blue, because if you don't, and you want the blue side, when you flip it, they're going the wrong way. Yes, that's a mess up, so we're going to do this again, but we're going to do it on the blue side this time. Because we want it to be going on the same side. There we go. Now they'll be facing the wrong way. If some of your marks show, that's okay. It just adds a little interest to it. But again, just remember, if you have a mess up, so do I. Nobody's perfect. And it's okay to mess up, because sometimes mistakes end up being happy accidents that you end up repeating because you like them so much. And the inside of this envelope is so pretty that it definitely screams ocean. Clean up the edge. Now, there's our ocean. How pretty. And see, the pencil marks just give it a little definition. So it goes on the bottom. Before I glue it down, let's go back and make our sailboat. Now I'm going to use the front part of the envelope for my sailboat. And I was going to use some of the part with the writing or the stamping. I thought that would be more interesting. So what I'm going to do is kind of cut off what I want to use. And then I'm just going to, again, draw it out. But this time I want this side to show. Very simple, nothing fancy. I'm doing a straight line. Nothing fancy, very simple. I'm going to draw a straight line across. And then just like a bowl shape. Like I said, it's just meant to be interesting, not look like some in-depth big sailboat. Looks like a bowl. Okay, this is going to be the bottom to our sailboat. We need a pole for our sail, so I'm going to use the red and blue of my envelope. We're using like every part of this because that's a great way to repurpose old envelopes, especially ones that are falling apart, is to use them in collage layering. Okay, it's a little tall, so I'm just going to trim it. Still a little tall. I'll use the other piece. There we go. And I'm going to put it right in the center like that. And for the sail, then I'm going to come up and get this blue stamp. It's red and blue. And it's going to kind of tie in with the whole sailboat ocean thing. And I'm just going to cut it in half diagonally. Again, I'm using stamps because it's a letter. And then you put the stamp back together on the pole. Oops. And there you have your sailboat on the ocean. Now let me glue all this down real quick and I'll show you the finished layered look. Hold on. Now keep in mind when you're doing this, if you want to add more ocean in the background, you can add some bits and pieces from whatever you have left. If I wanted to bring the waves up some, I could add in this other section and just cut off the waves, which I think I'll do. Because I want it a little more substantial than it looks right now. And let me put all this together and I'll be right back. Okay guys, once you get your water down, it looks really empty, especially if you just throw your little sailboat up there with the sail. It doesn't look complete. Our story looks untold. So what I did was I grabbed a book page and my watercolor pencils and I colored it in. That is my sky. Then I'm going to put my sailboat over here. And yes, I had to cut out a different sailboat because I lost the one I cut out. With my sail and my stamp for my sail. Okay? And then I also cut out a sun because that tells my story more. But you might be saying, what if you're going to mail this, right? Well, if I'm going to mail it, all I have to do is add in a little white piece of paper in the center just so I have a place to write my to from, and my stamps will still go there. That's all you have to do. And keep in mind as you are layering about, if you're sending it, about where your address goes. And if it's going to go through the mail, make sure all of your edges are good and secure and nothing rips off as you go through a machine. Okay, but there is one envelope done. The finished one, of course, is at the end of the video. Next, we're going to do the same thing, but our story's changing. Here is my next envelope and my pattern for inside. And the story I want to tell on this one is it's summer, again, because it is summer. And I'm thinking flowers and gardens and homes and all of that. So what I'm going to do on this one is when we collage or layer it up, I'm going to use a little bit of my map colors. You could use watercolors as well on here for green. And I'm going to build up some flowers. And this one can look one of two ways. If I'm going to do... The first way is to do an outside scene. So I'm going to have my green grass all the way across with a map color. And I'm cut a fence out from online. And I will layer it on here. And then I've got a bunch of die cut flowers. I'm going to build those up until I'm happy with where it is. To make sure it's telling the story I want to tell. Okay, so we're using a bunch of die cuts, we're using a fence, and we're going to use our map colors. Another story you could tell using flowers is I'm going to use, again, the green grass. I'm going to have my flowers in a flower pot this time. I have my watering can that can go up here because it's out of the way of where my stamp goes. And then for the water pouring out, watering my flowers, I'm going to cut strips of words and color them blue. So coming out of my little watering can are going to be words that is water. So there's two ways to do this one. And I'm going to do this one with the watering can. And well, I really like the fence though. Let's see if I can do the watering can with the die cut flowers. We'll just see how this goes. So first, the first layer is going to be my green grass all across the bottom. And you decide how far up, how far down you want it. And I'm doing one part a little higher because I want my fence to have grass all the way through it, but not over it. There we go. So it looks like that. Now, I'm going to start adding in my flowers. And I've picked ones that are kind of long and they kind of look like weed flowers because that's what would be growing around my fence. And I'm going to put some inside the fence and some outside the fence. And if you need to cut any die cut flowers to make it work, by all means do that. Okay, so here are the flowers. I layered them behind and on top of the fence, just like we talked about How pretty is that just right there? Now, right here we could stop and just add in a butterfly, which I think would look amazing. Like that. Or we could add the watering can. And we can add some blue behind our flowers for a little blue sky color, if you wanted to. Doesn't have to be dark, it can be very light, but it will give, you know, the story more realness, because it's about layering on until you get the story you want to tell told. Okay. And I think it's not going to fit. These flowers are too tall. And you have to be able to pivot. So I'm going to add my butterfly. And this one is going to be ready to add in the little address section, because we want to always make sure that our post office can find our address if we're mailing this. And if you're mailing this, again, please make sure all of your parts and pieces are down, and trim off any overhanging so they don't get caught on any machines. Now, this one is all ready for an address spot to be added. And you can add, again, white paper. You could add in coffee stain paper. Whatever you want to add is fine. You could add in a piece of this graph paper, and you could add it in wherever you want. I obviously don't want to cover up my stuff, so I could add it in right there. I could add it in down here. Okay, so there is our second envelope. And then our third envelope, again, could be flowers, or going a totally different direction, but kind of the same. I'm going to use a different type of envelope. Let's use this long one. Where did the long one go? Here we go. Let's use this long one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trace in here. And for the inside of this one, I'm going to use this vintage scrapbook paper. So this is going to be the inside of this envelope. It'll be very pretty. And the outside, we're going to do something totally different. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we got our inside cut out there. Now, what are we going to do on the outside that's different this time? We're going to lightly sketch a pattern. And I'm going to do triangles. And I'm going to do pointy ends and then flat ends. Flat ends back to back, pointy ends back to back. And then you can color these in if you want to. You can cut them out of book pages, coffee stain pages. However you want to do it, you can make them colorful. Whatever your story is that you're trying to tell, make it your own. Okay, so there you can see, and you can draw that out, and you can make it all the way around. You can do 2 layers, whatever you want. Just remember your return and your 2. So let me cut out some book pages. And like I said, these don't have to be perfect unless you want them perfect. I'm doing them quickly so I can just kind of show you how they're going to look. You can make them different colors. And you can make them tip to tip, not tip to tip. Just make sure if you draw on your envelope and they don't line up, you erase your lines, which is fine. This would be cool if they were different shades. Like if you did this with coffee stain book pages and plain book pages, that would look really good. I'm going to start tip to tip. and just put them all the way across. And then it's back to back. Back to back, tip to tip, back to back, and it's just a pattern. You can do this up the sides, knot, whatever you want to do. Just remember, if you're using book pages and you're going to have this available to family, friends, or the public, make sure your book pages are not anything that would offend anybody, because, you know, we don't want to offend anybody. Now, I'm going to glue these down real quick, and I will be right back. Okay, guys, this is another example of how you can collage different patterns, different looks onto your envelope. You could bring this up on the side. You could bring it up the whole envelope if you wanted to. Just come in again in the center with some place to write your address if you wanted to. Now here's our flower one we did. So cute. We added our butterfly. We have our picket fence. We did some green grass, some blue sky, just to finish telling our story and layering with the colors as well as the die cuts and the cutout. And then inside we have flowers, which completes our story. And then we'll have our ocean one, which will be done at the end. Now, some other things you can use. You could use things like blueprints. You can get these on the internet. You can use comic books. How fun would the inside of an envelope layered with old comic books be? Or to make a layer along the bottom of old comic books, maybe to add some color. It would be super fun. And then you could layer that with some photos or something really cute like that. Also, if you have a music lover in your life, you know, don't forget we use music paper all the time. It could be interchangeable with the book pages. You could also use just borders. Anything can tell your story. Just like inside your journal, and you use different things to tell your story on your pages, your journaling cards, all of that. You can use those same items on the outside of your envelopes to tell your story. Instead of using die cuts here, I could have cut these beautiful flowers with their little gems off of this card and placed them on here as well. So don't limit yourself. Just remember, if you're going to mail it, make sure everything is really glued down nice and flat. Make sure you put enough postage so it will go through the machines. And remember, no overhang because it will catch and then rip apart. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of how to beautify our plain envelopes. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Down below in the comments, let me know, how do you make your envelopes tell a story, or do you? Thanks for being here today, guys. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and that little bell, because we've got some awesome videos coming in the next few weeks and you don't want to miss out. I'll see you next time. Bye.